We'll go ahead and bring Mr. Birn on. Good morning, Ed.
Good morning, Chris.
Good morning.
First of all, we had saw on the stimulus checks, what is that RIS, economic stimulus? What's the RIS stand for?
It doesn't really stand for anything. It was just a misprint. It's there, and in order to get the checks out, we just left it because it would have taken another 3 weeks to get the checks.
Oh. What was it supposed to state?
It wasn't supposed to be there at all. So.
Oh, okay.
I thought it was IRS,
Yeah.
and then maybe it was RIS.
Well, that might it might be, but that wouldn't have been a good choice. So because it's not the IRS. I mean, the IRS is providing the money, but it's coming through us. So.
Well, I got to thank you. That's some good decision making there. I mean, people would have just had a.
Yeah, fit
I mean,
if you we got to reprint these. No, yeah. So.
No, that obviously would have been a bad choice, and we've already, because you're going to ask me this, so I'm going to tell you because I got the statistics. The first 20,000 batch is already in the mail, and I think if you walk past the post office here in Timooning, you could see people. There's a line of cars, so I assume people were going to their post office boxes to have a look. The second 20,000 arrived here sometime yesterday afternoon, and we expect to get them in the mail today.
Right, that's some good news, Mr. Birn. I guess, so I sent you the stuff that we wanted to kind of talk about. What can you tell us about this issue?
Can I just ask, that was for the federal stimulus, right? Or both?
That's the money that the federal stimulus that DRT processes, and we cut the checks and mail them out.
What about the
Programmen Salapi Ajudini Tauta?
We on Friday and this is a completely new program that we stood up within a week. We got some information from Public Health, who has the information on the people that are in receipt of public assistance. We actually got out about 500 checks on Friday, which I think it's already released. So there was about 365,000. And over the weekend, we've cut about another 3,000 checks. So we would hope to be able to release them. And because this is a stand-up program and we're getting the information incrementally, it's not going to happen all at once.
Right.
We expect to get it all done. At that rate, we should be done by the middle of next week, assuming we don't get anything else.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So what's the total amount in the local disaster aid program that's been distributed so far?
So far, the first batch, that 500, was 365,000. The second batch that we've cut but not yet mailed is 1.7 plus, that's about 2.5 million.
All right, so good time to be checking your mail, guys.
Yes, I'm sure U.S. Post Office likes this too, because it keeps them busy.
Yeah, I was actually at Timooning Post Office yesterday shooting some video, and there was a really long line, and this was in the morning, and I was like, anybody get their stimulus? No, but I think that they probably hit the post offices maybe a little bit before lunch, because we started seeing pictures going around of people taking pictures of their checks.
Yes, it's hard to drive out of here because of that line.
Right. Ed, so I guess can we just start with, because I've been trying to get you on this electronic fund transfer that we had sent a FOIA to, and this was electronic fund transfer made to pay the hotels being used as a quarantine. Can you just tell us a little bit about that process? And then, I sent you some questions about the certification of funds paperwork, who approved the EFT, and how was it recorded in the AS400?
Well, everything's recorded in the AS400, so when a payment is made, it's recorded in the AS400. Right. Going back to the actual, an invoice was sent to me, and I believe it came from the previous chief of staff, saying, can we pay this invoice because we have some people already in that hotel in a quarantine status. So we did that, and I think it was like at the end of last week, I got an instruction from the governor to pay these invoices that were acquired under this emergency purchase.
Which invoices?
Invoices, I haven't got them all yet. Whatever invoices that come from hotels or the people that service the hotels, I'm instructed to pay them.
Right,
Is this in through email or a verbal phone call that you're getting instructions?
There is a formal instruction I have.
When you say, is that in writing or is that over
Yeah,
the phone?
yeah.
It is in the writing.
No,
Okay.
it is in writing, yes.
Okay. So is that kind of a normal procedure? The governor sends you an email and tells you to pay somebody, and then you pay them?
Of course not. But none of this is normal. I think it was well established last week that this was an emergency purchase, and the procurement rules. And I think, even before I spoke to you last week, I think John Brown was talking about this. The normal rules don't apply in these circumstances.
What about this issue of the timesheets for the Adeloop staffers? So we got the timesheets, we got the statement from Adeloop. What can you tell us about that? And then if the cabinet on the staffers up there, to include the governor's legal counsel, aren't going to get paid for these hours, again, maybe could you explain why we're documenting them?
Well, I suspect if they didn't document them, you'd be asking me, why didn't you document them? We asked everybody to fill out timesheets if they were reporting to work as essential workers, so that we would know who the departments were nominating as essential workers. I did one, and if you look on my timesheet, though, if you look at it, I took out any monetary amount, so it just shows the hours and $0. And I guess it would have been better had we received the timesheets in that form. But nevertheless, these timesheets it was quite clear in the executive order that governor staffers are not being paid differential pay, except in special circumstances that you referred to before, where people are servicing the hotels, or the people in the hotels.
I wanted to follow up on what you mentioned earlier regarding you got the formal notice from the governor to pay out services. So is she the only one who can tell you that? Because you said Tony Vivalta also did. Is she the only one? And who else has?
Nobody else has.
So just Tony Vivalta and the governor have ordered you to...
The governor is the governor, right?
Well, Tony Vivalta was Tony Vivalta. He's not the governor. But you said he called you up or he wrote something. Did he call you or did he write something and tell you to pay?
No, I think he called me.
Can you recall the call, Ed?
No. But let me just say this, and this is important, right? That if the instruction I have got from the governor was to pay whatever invoices were presented, and that means invoices that were presented and paid, and invoices that are yet to be paid. And the last invoice I got, I think, was emailed on Sunday night.
Okay. How many invoices have you paid?
At this moment, I couldn't tell you exactly, but I think we paid 2 hotels 50%. We paid, I think, 7 laundry bills, and that's it so far.
Were the 2 the Wyndham and the Days Inn? Is that the one that we reported on?
Yeah.
Okay. How come there haven't been any payments made to other hotels? Like Santa Fe, I think Perlis Court was also one of the facilities that they were using.
Oh, right, because I've just got the invoices.
I see.
And we can only pay invoices when we get them, right? The instruction was to pay an invoice, not to just make a payment.
Right. So where's Office of Civil Defense and Guam Homeland Security and all of this? Are they kind of out of the loop? And because it seems like they just get a direct line to you. And again, that's just part of this unprecedented pandemic procurement?
Yes, purchase, not procurement. Remember, yes. I mean, in these circumstances, every department has been trying. The executive order suspended some rules and regulations. I'm not a legal expert, so I don't know which, but I know that we're having to do things in a different way, all of us, right, because of this pandemic. And we honestly want to make sure that everybody understands that we're trying to do this in the fairest and the most reasonable way. And in this circumstance, I don't think anybody was harmed. Right? Every hotel had the opportunity to offer their facilities. Some chose to, and some didn't.
What about Pacific Star invoices? You haven't got any from Pacific Star?
I have now, yes.
You have now. I see.
Yes, and they're in the process of being payment. And like I say, and I've got a few, I think 2 more laundry invoices, and I have some food invoices.
Right. The food invoices, can we discuss that a little bit? Because we had just got a FOIA response. The food invoices you're going to pay, is this going to be for passengers who are quarantined in the facilities, or is it for the staff that work the facilities, or is it for both?
I don't know, because I just got them and haven't studied them. I know they were revised. And so we got actually on Friday, and then we got a revised version, I think, on Monday. I don't think it was yesterday. I'm pretty sure it was Monday. And I imagine that there was a response to removing some food supplies that were not relevant to the hotels. I think it does include food for those people that are staffing the hotels, but I don't think it's every meal. I think it's just, whenever those staff are there, we paid for the meals for the people that are helping the people in quarantine.
So these don't have to have contracts, right? Just as long as you got the invoice, you don't have any other you don't have to have any other paper trail justifying anything. Like no agreements are in place. It's okay just as long as the governor says, "Go pay this," and here's the invoice.
This was an emergency procurement.
Right. Well, I'm just curious because Charles Estevez said, "Where's the contract?" when it came to Mr. Hyun sending over information about these food contracts, and Estevez is like, "Where's the contract?"
And then what happens after that is we get a memorandum that the governor addressed to you and Lester Carlson, which we're going to kind of go into, and this is for the meal services. But Ed, I want to go back to what you said. You said that the invoice was modified, and that there was a removal of the governor's office from the meal service? Because when we spoke with Policy Director Carlo Branch, the email from Hai Hyun shows that 20, and I'm not sure if that's 20 lunches, 20 breakfasts, 20 dinners, are being provided to the office of the governor. And then Carlo had said, "Oh no, we're paying for that out of private funds." But I didn't see anything in the FOIA that indicated that. So has this invoice and the services been amended to exclude the governor's office?
Well, it excluded some meals, so you and I could both conclude that it included those meals. But it didn't say that they were specifically included for any one thing, and nor would you expect them to.
Well, I would expect transparency, but
I mean, I'm just going off the email we got from Hai, and it had a breakdown of what hotel, and then there was one there, office of the governors.
Well, the transparency. I mean, these are we don't construct the invoices, Sabrina. They come from the third party. So
right. No, I understand that you don't get to see what's there. You're just doing what you're told to do, and it is to pay these invoices with or without a contract, because the governor has special powers under Title 10 to just not follow procurement rules. They can be thrown to the side.
That wasn't the answer to the question you just asked. No. The providing company is responsible for how they construct their invoices, and they would present me telling them, and perhaps you telling them, how to construct those invoices.
Right, but it just is strange when you have the Charles Estevez on an email chain saying, "Hey, yeah, I can facilitate the payment, but I need a contract or I need an invoice." And then the next step is the governor comes out with a memorandum writing a letter to you guys, and it's basically, I mean, the gist of this letter that I got was that it's a cover your butt. She's making this is why I need this to get paid, and I need to get paid yesterday. And so what we're looking at here is almost $80,000 in catering provided by Capital Kitchen.
Yes, that's true. can I just remind you, one of the other things that John Brown said in that interview was that apart from saying that this was an emergency purchase under extraordinary conditions, nobody has protested. Right? So can you conclude from that that nobody has been harmed? I already mentioned that each of these hotels got the opportunity to tell. I think it was done through JHRA, was allowed to determine whether they wanted to be used as a quarantine facility or not. I can only assume that everyone feels maybe not satisfied, but they're okay with the process, because I haven't heard that there's been a
yeah, it's not over
protest.
yet, though.
Have you?
I haven't, but I don't know if people knew that they could bid or what. I don't know the process said, but I'm pretty sure that it might not be accurate to say. I mean, yeah, I guess it's true. You can say there hasn't been a protest yet.
There hasn't been a protest yet. That is absolutely true.
What about
that I know.
Right? What about the differential pay for essential workers for the past 9 weeks? When are they going to get all that? Since some decided to return the checks, I mean, this was just bad all around. $23 checks. We're hearing from some $130. Can we kind of go into this? So why aren't they getting paid what they're owed?
Did they tell you how much they should have been paid? You know, I've seen, and let me take a step back here. Right? DOA wants to pay people what's owed to people, but DOA relies upon the departments that employ these people, first of all, to tell DOA that they've employed them, and that has been an issue. Again, you know, in this fog that we've got of people being moved around departments and asked to do things that are different from their normal activities, some confusion is, I guess, inevitable, even if we don't like it, and we try to minimize it. But we do rely upon departments to tell us who they employ and to send us timesheets that record the time that they work, because a differential pay can be different on each day, so we have to have a timesheet that records that. We've had time, I can tell you, we've had a timesheet from one person that worked half an hour in the whole period. And so the people that got this, what they want, you know, I guess they're
Are you blaming the employees?
More.
I just feel like we just created this COVID-19 response pay plan, and hey, everybody, figure it out.
Well, let me answer your two questions. One was a question and one was a statement. No, I'm not blaming the employees.
Okay.
What I want the employees to be clear about is, if they worked 3 hours and they got $160, that doesn't sound out of proportion. If they worked 3 weeks and got $160, then we need to look at it. But we haven't. The timesheets that we got didn't cover that whole 3-week period consistently from each agency. We got the remainder yesterday, and we're paying the remainder today. We really do want to pay people.
So it's just paperwork that's held everything up, and people not filing and submitting the correct documents and timesheets.
What if the governor sent you an email and was like, hey, just take care of this now?
Well, then, but remember what she said was pay the invoices.
Right. Yeah.
No, but if she sent another one, said pay the differential pay.
Pay the timesheets, then that's exactly what we're doing.
No, pay them whatever.
Well,
She could tell you that, though, right? Because Title 10 gives her superpowers.
She could, but she didn't.
But she could.
I think that's what's rubbing people wrong, is you got these. I mean, man, we elected a nurse. You got nurses out on the street corner protesting because they're not getting what they're owed, and then you have, on the other hand, we can rush through $80,000 worth of meals for political hires. It's just, you know how it looks, Ed, I'm sure.
Well, I don't think we rushed through anything, right? We paid some. You know, you can put whatever, because I guess I won't be able to stop you putting any kind of construct on it that you wish. But I want to pay nurses who work, and I want to pay them the differential pay for the time that they were exposed to the virus.
Yeah.
And I would like to say that nurses, lab techs, all these people that are contributing to this have done a fantastic job, because we've kept down the number of infections on Guam. So let's obviously make sure that everybody understands what a good job they're doing and continue to do.
I think they just would prefer to show them the money.
Well,
Ed, man, I got a comment here because you had talked about a protest. So one of my friends is a small business owner, and he put in here, did I hear that correctly? Capital Kitchen got $80,000 for providing meals to quarantine areas in the governor's office. Was there a bid put in? I could have bid for this and stayed open instead of closing down for 6 weeks. That's not fair. I know that's not a formal protest or anything, but
right,
I mean,
this is a formal protest, and we haven't paid that yet, as I said earlier. And should your friends,
but you were told to.
Why haven't you paid it?
Should your friend feel that he needs to file a protest, then he's, I guess, more than welcome to do so.
Right.
But
is the office open to go file a protest?
You would have to do that
online?
At the public auditor.
That's the public auditor.
Okay, got it.
But let's go back to where we were at the beginning. This was an emergency purchase, and I'm sure you wouldn't want. It takes a long time. Procurement is not an end in itself. Right? Procurement is a way to get people paid for goods and services they supply to the government. In this circumstance, it was determined that we had to quarantine people that were arriving from wherever they were arriving from, in order to protect the general population from further infection. That strategy seems to be more than successful, but it required some pretty fast things to be done, and that was why there was an emergency purchase. And your friend, is welcome to follow that up, and
I know. I think I read somewhere about sole source procurement, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Is that what happened?
That's part of emergency. No, that's not what happened. That's part of emergency procurement. Is you can nominate a sole source where a particular product or service can only come from one particular supplier.
Ed, what about and I send you a FOIA on this, but the directors, the deputy directors, these ad-loop staff who are working at the quarantine hotels, have they submitted their requests for the COVID differential pay? And can you tell us how many and how much, if you do know?
I don't know, but yes, some of them, where they were working in those hotels, yes, they have submitted, and you'll find it out in the FOIA. And can I just talk about FOIAs, right?
Yeah.
I got another one from you this morning.
Right.
I think that now makes 3, and I've got 2 more from another source.
Mm.
We will obviously respond.
No, man, Ed, I got to say, you're really good about responding. Yeah.
Right. We've only got a small staff here, and that same staff, if it's a payroll issue, are responsible for paying out these employees. So we'll do what we have to do, but please also, I would like everybody, and you too, please, to understand that some of the people in DOA have been working.
Yes.
Yeah,
pretty hard.
We know.
Since the beginning of this,
right. But you can't bring in.
I'm very grateful for them for the effort they're putting in.
Right. You can't bring in an extra staffer just to handle the FOIAs, the avalanche of FOIAs that you're getting?
Well, they wouldn't know where to look, and that's the problem.
The invoices that you're getting and you're going to be paying out, are they going to be through an electronic transfer, or are they going to be like printed checks?
We prefer to do EFTs because it's much cheaper.
Okay. No, because when we FOIA'd, we FOIA'd for payments, and we didn't get that because there were no checks.
Yeah, so
we had to, now apparently we have to ask specifically for electronic transfers.
Right.
Yeah, we're trying to get paperless. We reduced the number of employees who get paid by check by I think about 2/3. So they get direct deposit now. And we're trying to get all vendors to be paid EFT. That's what the federal government does.
Mm-hmm.
And it's so much significantly cheaper.
Ed, would the cabinet staff and the political hires work in the quarantine hotels and facilities? Were there any issues with the timesheets that they've submitted?
I don't think so. I have issues, I have a staff who are supposed to be dealing with this, but not that they've told me.
Aside for, and maybe you already asked this, aside from the free meals that Adeloop is getting, are they also getting any of this differential pay?
No. They're not getting free meals. I don't know if they're getting free meals. As I tried to answer your question, that some things were deducted from those invoices.
Right, yeah.
Okay, but what about the differential pay? Are they getting differential pay?
No. No, they're not getting differential pay. It was in the executive order that the governor's staff does not get differential pay.
Okay.
Governor's staff and cabinet members who would otherwise have been entitled to the 10%.
And so you said you're not sure if the governor's office is getting meals. According to your read of those invoices, and I know you're a sharp guy and you read, I know you read things before you pay it out. Who is getting the meals?
It didn't say,
Right, so you can't say whether or not they're getting it.
No, I can't. But all I can tell you is what I said, right, in response to your question earlier, that the second invoice had a reduced number on certain days. I do read them. That's how I knew that took place.
Yeah. Well, I think we've had it confirmed from Carlo that the meals are for the staffers who are working at the quarantine. So it's a pretty sweet deal. You got that director, deputy director, Adeloop staffer salary. You get 15% on top of that, and then you get catering.
You pulling a shift, Mr. Birn?
We didn't get it here. We didn't get it here. So
you're not getting any meals over there, Ed?
No, except in the interest of transparency, the director of Revenue Tax did send over some meals. I don't know if it was a meal. I think it was a pizza to my Treasurer of Guam staff yesterday to make sure that they were fully stuffed before they stuffed the envelope.
Well, Daphne's a great lady. That's it.
Yes, I didn't have any.
Right. Are you getting the COVID differential pay?
No.
Okay.
No, I think I answered that before too.
Right. Yeah. I'm just checking if it's because it's rapidly evolving.
It hasn't changed.
Yeah.
That hasn't changed. I am not getting it, and I don't expect to get it. And that's just part and parcel of the job.
I know you said you want to pay the nurses, you want to pay the frontliners. You brought up the issues with the timesheets. How are we doing in rectifying this and getting them paid? And is there a timeline?
Well, as I said, the ones I mean the timesheets that were missing or not submitted to us related to the second week or second pay period of the current amount that we're paying will be paid by today. Can I just also add that when we had some people that would have qualified to be paid for the period before, when the executive order first came out, there was work being done that wasn't yet covered by the differential pay. The executive order could not make that retroactive, and the retroactive part got muddled up in the bill that the governor vetoed. And the governor has submitted a separate bill to the legislature to authorize the retrospective pay, which is another 2 or 3 weeks, that predated the authorized amount of the retroactive pay. So there's amounts that are going to be owed to those people for that period, but we can't pay it until the legislature acts.
Right, it can't be. It's not retroactively applied.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Ed. I just wanted to get you on. I mean, the comments with you when you came on, was that last week? And you told us why you don't think we should pay the double pay. People are still citing that rule that you cited and disagreeing with it. So you still stand where you stand on the double pay issue, right? And Ed is, because we're seeing conflicting messaging. Well, the governor had said we just can't afford it, and then you're saying that we don't have to pay it.
Well, I said both.
Right.
In my letter to Senator St. Augustine, I think I said both. Fortunately, we're in a world where we can disagree, right? And we disagree about many things, and it's absolutely important that every opinion is heard and weighed. And there are ways of doing this, and you're fulfilling part of it here. So, but we just think that in the circumstance that we are now, and there's calls from the private sector, please help us. We're trying to help the people on public assistance. We got out the walk lanes checks early through the local program to try and help people. Daphne and her team have been working on the stimulus checks, and Dave, the lead fellow, is working on the unemployment. Everybody's working very hard to get the money out to people, and how you distribute that money must be. It's a difficult decision,
right?
But that was the decision that was made.
We had FEMA on yesterday, and there was one of the guidelines in the FEMA pandemic public assistance policy guide that discussed what types of expenses would be reimbursable by FEMA, and they had we had asked basically, so the DOA rules and regs with the double pay, is that something that would be reimbursable? And in the beginning they said, oh, it kind of seems like it, but definitely the COVID differential pay, which was created in the middle of a pandemic, would not be something they would reimburse. So are we looking at the CARES money for that if FEMA's not going to reimburse it?
Yes, and I don't know whether they made this clear to you, but FEMA rarely reimburses at 100%.
Right, 75. But I'm just saying, so your argument is that we can't pay the double pay because we can't afford it, but what if it was 75% reimbursable by FEMA? That would drop the cost way down, and it would then be something that we could afford?
Well, I think we'd have to look at it, but just by way of comparison, I think this is something that the legislature is interested in. The double pay, an estimate of the double pay would have been about $3 million per pay period, and the COVID pay, the differential is coming out roughly about $800,000-900,000, assuming we got all the timesheets in. So that was a decision that was made, and I wasn't party to that discussion with FEMA, so beyond that I can't really comment.
Yeah. Well, when we get a response, I'll shoot you a story.
He was just saying that the program assistance program, I think B or something, under FEMA, that as long as there's existing rules and regs and laws in place related to overtime, then it could be eligible for FEMA reimbursement at the 25% clip. And if it was estimated that it would cost $36 million by the administration, that would turn out to be about $9 million. But just something you said about the differential pay, you said it was estimated about $800,000
per pay period.
Per pay period, okay. Yeah, because Crystal Paco San Augustine said that $1.1 million was paid out.
That's right, because it was more than one pay period.
Right. Yeah.
It was 1.5 pay periods.
I see.
Well, we appreciate you, talking about this double pay issue, because it kind of seems like the administration is you guys are the only ones who's saying that we don't have to pay it, we can't afford it. Everyone else seems to think that they're owed it.
Well, as I say, they're entitled to their opinion, but DOA is the department responsible for determining what gets paid and what doesn't get paid, and you would be as critical as me if we didn't look at these things closely and just let them go. So that's what we did, and that's the conclusion we've come to. And I believe that Senator St. Augustine asked the Attorney General, and we're both waiting for a response.
But if you got a email and a directive from the governor to pay the double pay, similar to how you were told to pay these invoices, then you would pay it.
If it was couched in yes, of course.
So all we got to do is we got to convince the governor to send you an email with an invoice.
It wasn't an email. As you know, because you have a copy of it, it was kind of formal memo.
Right. Yeah.
With backup arguments and everything like that.
Right.
So
backup arguments. I think they even had like backup arguments to the backup arguments. Okay, Ed, thank you.
Thanks, Chris.
Is there anything else you wanted to add? We got the top of the hour, but is there anything else you want to add?
No, just in these circumstances, I understand people are getting, edgy, and I get grumpy too sometimes. But a lot of people in the government are putting in very long hours and doing. Some of them are not reimbursed, right? And putting a very great effort into dealing with this pandemic. And generally, I think the process is working. So let's not take our focus off that, and let's make sure that we continue to do what we're doing, because I think the results, compared with the rest of the world, I think the results are remarkable. So thank you to everybody that's putting all this effort in.
All right, Mr. Birn.
Thanks, Mr. Birn.
Wash your hands.
And thanks to DOA staffers, too.
And hey, let's give a big hand to the staff. They're mailing out the checks.
I'll tell them. They're down there now.
Yeah, okay. I'll see you, Mr. Birn. Wash your hands. Thank you. 806. Is it just a British accent?
What?
I don't know. Just coming out of his mouth, it's like, well, if you'd like to file a protest formally, then you're more than entitled to do so. If you don't like the cabinet being catered to, then do something about it. Put it in writing.
I didn't think that the cabinet was being catered.
All right.
I really like Mr. Birn.
Yeah. So we're going to take a break here. Welcome.
There are things that I don't like.
Yeah, so it's 8:07. We're KUM FM in Guam. Good morning to our KUM TV 11 audience. We'll take a break, come back with news, and a whole lot more right here on Containing COVID. Good morning.
Join us in saluting those. Be healthy. Be informed with ITD.